Bye-bye artificial dyes. Hello natural coloring. To break down what this means for us consumers, the Director of Product Label and Ingredient Reviews from Registrar Corp is joining us this morning. Anna, let's welcome her to Loving Living Local. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to talking to you about these monumental changes that
Yes.
are happening in the food industry.
So let's talk about this trend. We've got Kraft, General Mills, and now Nestle are cutting those artificial dyes. So why is this getting so much attention?
Well, from our standpoint, I work in the regulatory world, and for us, it's sort of a bit of a shock. We were quite obviously taken by surprise, really at the speed at which industry has responded. So this all stems from an announcement in April from the FDA asking for voluntary removal of these synthetic colors. And a lot of us are kind of a little jaded. We're a little used to industry not doing anything really unless they're forced to. So fast forward only 2 months, you have these, huge multinational companies like Kraft and Nestle. I think Smucker's has joined in, ConAgra, are all saying that they are going to work to try and remove all of these by FDA's proposed deadlines or not too long thereafter. And, when you think about the size of these companies and the hundreds of products that they produce, or thousands, it's really kind of a massive undertaking. So just the quick response, I think, took a lot of us in the food industry and the regulatory world by surprise.
So
Now,
when we're like
oh, sorry.
walking through the grocery store, how are we actually going to start noticing the differences?
So I think, consumers who are really conscious about the synthetic additives and synthetic colors and are concerned about it will probably, if they're looking at the ingredients lists on the labels, will be able to determine pretty quickly whether or not these products have been reformulated to remove the synthetic colors. I think also because of consumer awareness and interest in replacing synthetic additives with more natural alternatives, I think companies will probably use that as a marketing angle. And you may see on the front of the package brand announcements, things like, colored with natural sources and things like that, to try and attract the attention of consumers who are interested in trying to find these natural alternatives.
And what's interesting is we know that these make the colors of your snacks and our cereals kind of pop a little bit. So talk to me how this kind of challenges does that make to food makers about trying to get these colors to do the exact same thing that they are doing with these artificial dyes?
It is a big challenge because reformulation can be tough because of that color vibrancy that the synthetic colors give. Natural alternatives don't always have that. They have different chemical makeups. They may not react with the other ingredients in the product quite as easily or as well. So, the manufacturers face sort of a big hill. Like, we had a client trying to do this and it took about 6 months to find a replacement, So that's a big challenge. And then also consumer acceptance. General Mills tried to do this about 10 years ago and had to revert back to the synthetic colors because consumers simply didn't accept the new kind of duller version of their cereals. They didn't have those artificially vibrant colors. But I think this go around, it'll be different. Consumers are more interested in natural alternatives. So we're all kind of hoping that the consumer acceptance will be greater this year. And so that should work.
And then, so like we talked those big conglomerates, but let's go into those smaller kind of businesses and maybe the like home chefs that we have and health conscious home chefs at that. What should they be taking away from this trend?
So the take my vantage point as a consumer rather than as a regulatory specialist, is that color additives really don't serve any technical function other than just imparting color to the product. It doesn't affect taste or nutrition or anything like that. So I think the move to natural colors is a good one, and I think just overall, the consumer's interest in foods that aren't quite as processed, that certainly seems to be the trend. There's what's called the clean label movement, people looking for less processed foods, fewer synthetic additives, including colors. So that certainly seems to be an overarching trend that we're seeing in the food industry now.
And Anna, what kind of help is out there for companies who are maybe trying to get it right this time?
So I think having a robust oversight of your entire operation is important. Making sure that when reformulation happens, that it carries through the entire product line and the distribution channels. There are a lot of resources out there. You can go to FDA's resources and all of their guidance and their regulations, or you can seek the assistance of a company like Registrar Corp. We are very familiar with all of these types of regulations, what can be approved, what can't be, and help companies families on this path towards these natural alternatives.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for giving us a little bit more insight into these artificial dye bans, what that's going to mean for us as we go into the grocery store, and probably the future of our nation and the way we eat foods.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, for more information, visit registrarcorp.com. Anna,